continues to outperform any other that they can understand and safely invest in, they'll stay there. So to say that the American dollar, that's for all of us to feel comfortable with. But the reality is, the money is going to go where the profits are. That's how we have to think. That's what we really have to teach our children. It's not balancing a checkbook. It's understand global business. Labor and raw material. That's all the resources there are.
So now, again, I asked the question.
Okay.
Canada, America.
Will they come together?
Central America.
Will they come together?
South America. Tell me.
No, because Canada is a huge trade.
Yeah, but they have some issues and some concerns too right now. And to be honest with you, the euro is really flexing its muscle.
They're expecting it to actually take over, and they're looking for other.
But you can counter it. That's what I'm saying right now. I'm saying, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that gets the whole picture.
I don't want to comment on that because my uncle used to do, before he retired in the West Indies, he was the engineer. Any building that went up in Trinidad, he had to approve. And he called me about 5 years ago and said, Ron, do you know where I can get some money for the re-education of undereducated adults? They had basically plateaued with their level of knowledge and the industries had changed. And I said, well, what about the IMF? He says, I don't want strings attached. So the issue is, would they? Well, you know, England fought the UE for the longest while and then was the biggest proponent to hold other people out. They didn't want Greece in, right? They didn't want Turkey in, right? But they were the biggest proponents once they got in. So yes, anything can happen. Alliances are always forged because it's the power base. It's not about the country. Yes, we're told it's the country, and yes, it looks like the country. And let's use an example. When a union and a non-union go to negotiate, they're totally opposite sides, right? I want no union, I want 100% union, right? And then you see them come together, they're shaking hands and everything's fine. So a meeting of the minds was achieved. At what level? I don't know. At what price? Well, we pay the price. We see that in banking. That makes no sense, what's happened in our banking system. It does make sense, I'll tell you why. J.P. Morgan bailed out America in the turn of the century. J.P. Morgan bailed out America when it was building the railroads.
Yep.
So they own the country.
Yeah, but they bought up a ton of property too.
Absolutely.
Come on, they got
Absolutely.
some perks out of it.
Of course, of course. That's the point, though. That's the point. It's not about relinquishing power, it's about moving assets on the table. And as long as I own the table, as they say, the rest of us here just rent. The rest of us just rent. The trick is, how can you position yourself for a more favorable outcome as you move through life? And the simple things are, whether it's finance, try to minimize your financing, credit, educating your children and showing them to stop using this psychological babble of not having enough. Because the joke about that is, let's look at children, for example. What's the one thing a child will say at the end of the day? Why didn't you spend more time with me? It's not the stuff you give them, it's the time you spend with them. So why are we constantly giving crap and stuff to our children?
You feel guilty.
Because we feel guilty. We need more parental strength, not child advocacy. Children need to know what it's like to go without. Why? Because that's life. It's life. It's not about we're maturing and we're more sophisticated and we have more gadgets. Look at the way our phones, look at the way they market cell phones to us, right? They said a cell phone keeps you in touch. We did not have a phone in London. My parents did not have a phone in our house in London. We were going to boarding school 3 hours away, and I told my father, I said to my father, I said, Dad, you think we can get a phone now? He says, a phone? What do you mean? Well, we're going away to boarding school. I understand we came home every day from local school, fine. But now we're going away, we're going to be away for 9 months of the year. He says, what do you need a phone for? I said, well, we can talk to each other. He says, I know where you are. I know where you are. So all this phone stuff now, fast forward to today, if you have kids or nephews, do they call you? No. If they need something, yes. One or two might. You get the odd one, right? Hey, how you doing? What's going on? We don't speak anymore because of the cell phones. And God forbid you don't know how to text, which I don't, because look at the size of the keys and look at my fingers. Are you kidding? Talk about arthritis.
I need a pen.
Oh, forget about it. Look at my glasses. I got bifocals. Are you kidding me? Get out of here. You know? So, you know, it's all this juxtaposed. I envy you for going to South Africa. Because it is, remember, apartheid is only 80 years old. Apartheid is only 80 years old. You could be born and die within the time that it existed. That the European countries got together to say, we're going to annex that little bit of heaven. We're going to annex that little bit of heaven. So the storylines are, you got to gain strength from it. We've really got to challenge ourselves to look at what are our 13 steps. What are your personal 13 steps? And as I've said, it's not therapy. It's simply a matter of every day you get up, and I think we're all at an age and a stage in our lives where we want something more meaningful. One observation which came about was, why are we working 30, 40, 50 years to retire into doing what we want to do? And we sell ourselves that concept. Make no mistake about it. We sell ourselves that concept.
Yeah, but
we justify it.
that's in America. That's one of the reasons I'm kind of interested in your perspective, because I understand that Europeans,
We are gonna have.
their whole work ethics is different.
You've got to relax, dude. You know, and that's in America, right? You gotta relax, dude. But you can't because you're on a treadmill.
Yeah.
Everything
yeah.
has to be done.
Yeah.
You got to do 10 things on the weekend. You got one day to do it in. That doesn't make sense. Everything is, we're just too uptight. And I am part of it. I call it being Americanized. I do. That was my biggest fear of coming here, being Americanized. I don't want to be like that. I want to watch the grass grow. You know, I saw my crocuses come up this year. Crocuses are the first bulbs that come up after the winter. Last year the squirrels came and destroyed every single one of them. Then I was out there with my pellet gun, my wife was screaming, I wanted to get a bazooka, I wanted to kill those suckers. We got old families in these big trees up on. And this year we put the mesh over them, the snow came down, I don't know what happened. The mesh moved, the crocuses came up, and they're beautiful. They're beautiful. We had this mesh over them, but the snow was so heavy. I don't know what happened, but the earth moved. Just like change. And it was magnificent.
Now, I'm going to change the topic here.
Absolutely.
How many units of your book do you envision with 13 steps distributing, selling, marketing?
Well, in order for me to get a publishing company like a Simon & Schuster or a McGraw-Hill to be interested, I've got to move 25,000. These, through Dragonfly, which is a self-published, I'm self-published. I'm on Amazon. I will soon be on Barnes & Noble. I would say it would take about a year or so, maybe 2 years. My mission is to continue writing. I have 4 more books already. I'm working on them. One of them, I was telling this gentleman, which is My Castle. I'm from the mortgage banking world. And 14, 15 years, I've pretty much seen enough. I haven't seen it all, I don't want to see it all, I've seen enough. And the book is entitled, My Castle, My Jail, Home Ownership Has Never Been Easier to Lose. Whatever Happened to the American Dream. And it's going to be a chronological history of how residential funding came about for homes, and mine and my wife's family stories of my parents coming to England, building a real estate, what at that time would be considered 8 homes, a real estate empire, coming to America, duplicating it again. We lost a lot, we won a lot, we still own our own home. So it's a factual story. It's an emotional story, but at the same time, you'll see where this money is coming from, why it came about, because I think that's important. The life cycles is a quote book. The one you're holding in your hand actually is my proof from Amazon, and if you want to, I do have them for sale here.
How much are they, by the way?
Those are $15. That's on Amazon right now. So that's technically my first book. My second book, 13 Steps to Positive Change. My third book will be My Castle, My Joe. Then I have one, Letters from My Mother, because being in boarding school for 9 months of the year, for the better part of 10 years, you accumulate a lot of letters.
Oh, that's really cute.
And yeah, that'll be, again, a perspective of what a mother was hoping for from her son, and what she actually got was, I think, someone who is independent, who is realistic about life. And at this stage in my life, I'm even more excited than I was when I was 18, 19, because number one, assisted living is now, the average age in assisted living is 82 years old.
May I have your attention, please? The library will be closing in 15 minutes. If you have materials to check out, photocopies to make, or printing to finish, please do so now. The library will be open tomorrow, Wednesday, at 10 o'clock.
Do you have this listed on, like on the internet? Do you have your own site?
Yes, I do. On the quote book, you'll see my website.
Ronald Mallen?
Yeah, Ronald M. Allen, M being my middle initial for Matthew.
Oh,
yeah,
M.
I know,
Okay.
everyone says Mallen, that's okay. It's a good fish.
Yeah.
Mallard, Mallen.
But do you have it listed like on Craigslist even, like where you could get
Not
a
on
free ad
Craigslist.
for yourself?
Not on Craigslist.
Oh.
I have created a social network of, right now I have 45 different social networks, which I'm slowly populating because I'm very careful of what I put out there. I don't want anybody just to attach themselves to my website.
Right, right.
Because you get a lot of people who just want to be part of a list. So it's on Amazon, it's on my website, ronaldmallen.com, and then the other 45 social networks, it will slowly populate. I changed over July of last year. I have an email newsletter which you can sign up for, it's free. I have my blogs, which you'll see, very creative because I did ballooning, I have that up there. And I say, up and away, think higher, and it looks at my ballooning. There were some neighbors who carved out a dragon out of the snowstorm we just had. They carved out a dragon, a castle, and what I call a snow lady, because they took the apron of the snowman and painted it pink. I don't know what they used, maybe some Bisquick or some kind of dye or something, and they made it a woman. And you'll see that on my blog as well. Yeah, and where I live, we have a forest behind me, so I say early morning walk. What are your thoughts before you start work? So again, it's a perspective. It's a preparing for the day. It's a preparing yourself for life. And life is a struggle. Life is a challenge. So yeah, these.
What's the cover?
Oh, you haven't made it out yet? I'm not telling you. What do you think it is, the lady behind you?
It looks.
What do you think it is?
Like a frog from Costa Rica.
A frog from Costa Rica.
It's an amphibian animal,
Is it?
but
It is, but it's the earth.
how does it see the
eye,
earth?
the eye is the earth.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. When you think of change, anytime the lowest, when I say the lowest, that life form which is closest to the earth, being snails, frogs, fish. Once they start to change their biological makeup, which they have, they're now hermaphrodite fish because of the chemicals we've been pouring into fresh water, rivers. Hermaphrodite fish. We have started to change as well, physically, biologically, skeletal wise. We have begun to change. Once you change that, everything else is in order. Everything else is going to follow because it's all a pecking order of food. So what I said to the gentleman was, who designed this, I said, these are thoughts about life, these are thoughts about change. And he came up with the picture of the earth as an eye, and then the very reptiles which have not predeceased, but predate us. And that's why I love it, and I love the green. It's very sharp, it's very striking. We had a Princeton book signing about 2 weeks ago, and this kid just kept coming up to my stand and just going through the books. He just couldn't stay away from them. And people were starting to gather just because of what he was doing. Yeah, so it was perfect. And that's what it was. That's what it's for. It's if you go onto Amazon.com and you look at quote books, they're fairly bland. The covers are very bland. So it gives you that stale library, melodious kind of, oh, I've got to study this. When in fact, a quote book should be dynamic. I think a quote book should inject energy into you. It should give you a new focus. You see that other people have gone through challenges, and this is their perspective. Does yours jive? If it doesn't, why? What can you do with it? I'm always seeking other solutions, other ways of doing things. I don't believe in just, if someone says no to me, I'm going to ask 5 more people, and I'll make up my mind. I also refer to it, by the way, as the NASA principle. NASA principle. When they put Sputnik up to orbit Earth, and I think it was 62, 63, I think it was. John F. Kennedy said, well, we got to put a man on the moon. He didn't say, let's duplicate what they did. He didn't say, let's go orbit the moon. He said, I want to put a man on the moon. And NASA, the people, all these great scientists from around the world, by the way, NASA is also made up of nations from all around the world. It's not Americans per se, it's all people. They said, well, you have to go A through Z, then you have to come back and do double A, double B, double C through double Z, and probably come back and do A, B, C, A, B, C, C again. And he said, well, if we do all those things, will we get to the moon? And they said yes. He said, well, how quickly can you get those things done? See, the whole point is you're moving forward. I'm not against anything. I don't believe in that, I'm against drugs or guns. I believe in educate yourself about drugs and educate yourself about the good use of guns. Because guess what? Maybe one day it will protect you. Or maybe one day you will need that particular drug to help with an ailment. So by empowering yourself with the knowledge, you're not pushing that away that could possibly help you.
So now on the knowledge that can help you, Tone, what's on the
that is the audio tape that I just made.
Is the audio
that's
tape.
the
How many
introduction.
chapters are on the audio?
Just the introduction.
Introduction.
Just the introduction. I am going to make this book an audio book, unlike the quote book. I'm not sure about that, but this book will be an audio book. And I have, as I say, I have my account already up on Amazon, so once it's published, I'll get a reading. It'll probably take me a couple of months to read it. I understand audiobooks do take time to read. They take a while, because you've got to get the same tonality throughout the whole book. And that's a challenge, and I'm not going to invest the money of a professional narrator. It's too expensive.
I hate to run out.
No, absolutely.
But I'm going to have to.
Yes.
I'm going to also extend an invitation that we'll have to do this at another library, which you know about in Wilbur.
Absolutely. I can I ask you to do me one favor? Just shoot me an email and just say what you thought, and then I can, you'll allow me to put you into my e-newsletter. It's free.
Okay.
There's no obligation. I do not sell any contact information. Mm-hmm. It's not a big company behind me. There's no one that I sell anything to. It's me.
Do you have a list to sign up for that tonight, or you want to just email?
Just go on the internet and email me.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Now, I like to keep things private. If people want to, they will. If they don't, that's okay.
That's good.
Thank you again for coming. I just sincerely appreciate it. Thanks for the questions. It's really about that.
Thank you.
So now, do you have a YouTube?
Absolutely. All my videos, you'll see 3 videos. I have audio tape, and there's a special message on my website. I have 3 audios. I have one from the Princeton, one from the West Hampton Professional Service Group, and one from my Toastmasters group. There are 3 different presentations I did, and you'll see parts of those. You'll see my calendar on my website. I have a calendar of my activity. I'm filling that out this week because I just got it back up again. We have the newsletter, the archive. We've got 4 newsletters up on the website. All of that is there.
Okay.
So, yep. If you go to the website, you'll see quite a bit of information.
All right.
Quite a bit of information.
And thanks for asking.